¿Cómo están? Bien. Más o menos mal. Bueno, hoy vamos a tomar apuntes. We're going to take some notes on verbs. Okay? Entonces, saquen los apuntes, por favor. Take out your notes. Saquen los apuntes. We have worked with one verb already and how to conjugate it. Anybody remember what verb we've been working with? Ser. Muy bien. All right, now we're going to talk about all kinds of verbs, especially one in particular, AR verbs, but that applies to many different verbs. So, primero, ¿qué es un verbo? ¿Qué es un verbo? What does that mean? What is a verb? Well, in English, what is a verb? In English, a verb is an action word. All right, an action word. So a verb is always something somebody is doing. It's an action word. In Spanish, it's also an action word, but we can look at it and we can tell it's a verb because it will end in AR, ER, or IR before we conjugate it. So in Spanish, we can look right at a word and know if it's a verb because it will always end in AR, ER, or IR. And I have down here before conjugation. What is conjugation? Conjugation is taking that chart, that awesome chart we learned about, and putting a verb into those forms. That's conjugating. Okay, so that's what we have so far. ¿Qué es un infinitivo? So this is asking, what is an infinitive? What is an infinitive? And it's not a number without end. It's different. It's not infinity. All right? What is an infinitive? Well, it's a verb that has not been conjugated. And again, conjugated means we put it into its forms. And it still ends in AR, ER, or IR. You guys already know some infinitives. For example, organizar, to organize. That's an infinitive. It ends in AR. What else? Tener, to have. Tener ends in ER. You can throw some out there. I'm sure you're probably right. Conocer, if you thought of that one. What else have we learned? Necessitar, to need, necessitar. Ser, been working with ser. All right. The definition in English of an infinitive always starts with to something. All right? So in English, an infinitive is to run, to paint, to draw, to be, to need, to organize. It's always to do something. That's an infinitive. It's the same in Spanish, although it looks a little different. It'll end in AR, ER, or IR, and that means to do something. And remember, conjugated means to be put into forms. Ser is an infinitive. Soy, eres, es, somos, sois, and son are its conjugations, are its forms. So take a minute, make sure you have all of those notes down. So an infinitive is a verb that has not been conjugated, a verb that has not been put into its forms. Ser is an infinitive, and then when we conjugate it, we get soy, eres, es, somos, sois, and son. Ser means what? To be. an infinitive. What does organizar mean? To organize. It's an infinitive. Tener, to have, an infinitive. Now, tengo is a conjugation. It's conjugated. It's a form of tener. Everybody with me so far? Hopefully. Okay. Vamos a continuar. Here are some regular AR verbs that you are going to have to memorize. So make sure you're taking these down. All right. First we have cuidar a tu hermano, which is to take care of your brother. Cuidar a tu hermano. Cuidar a tu hermano. Hermano. How do we say sister? Any ideas? Excelente. Hermana with an A. Hermana would be a sister. Next one. Descansar en el parque. To rest in the park. Descansar en el parque. Descansar en el parque. To rest in the park. Dibujar. Whoops. To draw. Dibujar, to draw. You might be able to figure out the next one if you've ever heard me say, escuchen. What am I saying? Listen. And then escuchar música. To listen to music. To listen to music. The next one, jugar a, is to play a sport. We need to follow it with the a. So if we were playing tennis, it would be jugar a el tenis. But who can tell me what happens with a and el? If we have a and L next to each other, it's kind of like if we have day and L next to each other. They squish together and they form all. Just like we had day and L squish together and form del. A and L squish together and form all. So if we had to play tennis, it would be jugar al tenis. To play basketball, jugar a el baloncesto, but we combine a and el, and we get al baloncesto. Oops. Lo siento, clase. Lavar el carro, to wash the car. Lavar el carro, to wash the car. The next one should be pretty easy. Hopefully you can guess. Mirar la televisión, to watch TV. Mirar la televisión. Now, we learned another word for TV, but it was different. Does anyone remember what that word was? El televisor. Excelente. But what's the difference between el televisor and la televisión? Well, el televisor is the box, the actual TV set, and la televisión is like cable. It's what you actually watch. It's the programming. All right. To swim in the pool is nadar en la piscina. Nadar en la piscina. Nadar en la piscina. To swim in the pool. Now I'm going to teach you a way to remember pool that helps me. Okay? You don't piscina pool. Okay? You don't piscina pool. Okay? Hopefully we're catching that there. Alright? So that helps me remember that. Alright? Lo siento. But Sí. All right. La piscina, pool. Nadar en la piscina, to swim in the pool. Does anyone remember the word for swimming? Starts with an N also. La natación. Excellent. All right. Sacar la basura, to take out the trash. Sacar la basura, to take out the trash. Tocar is to play an instrument. Now we had to play a sport, jugar, to play an instrument, tocar. Don't forget to include the instrument. So if you play the guitar, it would be tocar la guitarra. You cannot use these interchangeably, okay? Jugar is to play sports, tocar to play instruments. They're different. And finally, trabajar, to work. To work. I don't know if you can see that, but it says, since these all end in R, and specifically AR, what are they called? Anyone look back in your notes? There's a specific name for verbs that still end in the AR, ER, or IR. Anybody? Infinitivo! See, an infinitive, all right? When it ends in AR, ER, or IR, these are all ARs, that's called the infinitive form. Infinitive. Hasn't been conjugated, still ends in R. Infinitive. Excellent. Okay, so how do verbs conjugate? How do we conjugate verbs? We've already kind of learned this, but we're going to learn a new set of rules today. So, my question is, do you remember this? How many people remember this? See? Hopefully you have this ingrained in your brain so that you did not forget it over Christmas break with all the candy and cookies you were eating. All right? So we have these boxes here. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted. Should be an accent here. All right. Nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. Let's hope you remember that, okay? You're going to need this for the rest of your Spanish lives. Es muy importante. All right. So, clase. Lo siento. It's early. It's the day after Christmas.